everyone, and welcome to the Darkest Hour. I'm your host, Amanda Jane. You've probably heard the phrases, "the past is in the past," or "time heals all wounds." Typically, these are meant to comfort people who may be going through something, or who may be trying to move past something. It's just that in some instances, for certain people, their past seems to catch up with them, and the idea that time would heal certain wounds just doesn't ring true. In fact, it was with time that their situation only got worse. They tried running, even just forgetting. But there's that other saying, the one about how you can't run away from your problems, from your past. Because sometimes there's unfinished business you didn't even realize you'd started, but yet you have to finish. It's only by reaching into the past that you get certain answers about the present. Only then can you move on. So, let's get started, shall we? I had an unexplainable experience occur about 5 years ago. I was a junior in high school. After the school day was over, my best bud at the time and I went over to his dad's house. With the house to ourselves, our plan was to hunker down in his room, play MCC Halo 2 on Legendary, see how truly hard the game is. It's hard. We're in the middle of the level outskirts, just before you reach Jackal Sniper Alley, and in the next room over, we heard a noise. The adjacent room was the parallel laundry room, which had a closed door to the garage. The garage door's handle squeaks. Our ears catch the noise. We pause the game just as the door creaks all the way open. We're staring out the bedroom door into the hallway. We can see the doorway of the laundry room, but not into the room itself. We were expecting to see who was coming in from the garage, assuming it was his dad. Instead, the garage door slams shut, so hard we could feel it connect with the wall. We are stunned. We started freaking out because no one else should be home right now, so I immediately assumed there's an intruder. We gather some random items to use as weapons and literally breach the garage like friggin' Rainbow Six Siege. We stacked up and opened the door as I yelled, "Whoever the fuck is in here better come out right fucking now." Silence. Stale silence and utter darkness. We flip the lights on and begin a search of the garage. I tell my buddy to check if the side door to the backyard is locked. It is. While he looks around outside, I make note that there's no windows in this garage. No feasible escape that wouldn't leave a trace for us to find. All there was my bud's dad's old rusty truck and a bunch of empty cabinets. Yes, I searched the cabinets. No one was in the garage except us. I've told multiple people this story, and over the years, not a single explanation I haven't already accounted for and disproved. The obvious question is wind? No. I've had wind open and close doors before, and you know when it's the wind. Besides, we would have heard the garage rattling if the wind was hard enough to open and slam the door. I would like to note that there is a possibility that someone actually did break in and manually open the garage door to slide out under it, but that's also unlikely. Not only would we have heard it move, but it would have made much more sense to just hit the garage hanger button. There's also the possibility that in the midst of panic, my bud mistook the side door for being locked when it actually wasn't. No matter which way you cut it, I have a freaky ghost home intruder story. As a child, I was extremely scared of going to sleep. It was because every now and then I would wake up in the middle of the night, start seeing and hearing things. I used to see dark figures walking past my door. I'd hear noises of people walking downstairs. They sometimes even called my name. One night, after staying awake, trembling under my blankets for about 30 minutes, I started praying. I prayed and eventually I fell asleep. Some days after that, I moved to another room in my house. In that room, I just had a few episodes, but I never really heard the people downstairs. So I once saw this really nice necklace on an online auction, and I just placed my bid and I actually won. The seller was a German man and it took a while for my package to arrive. I was super proud of my new necklace. Started wearing it the exact moment I held it in my hands. After a month of wearing it, weird things started happening to me. 2 events occurred. The first was on a Sunday or Saturday morning. I remember being very relaxed and hearing the voice of a little girl talking to me. Even though I couldn't understand what she said, I didn't see her, I just heard her. Everyone in my house was asleep, so it made me freak out. The second event occurred on a Wednesday night. It was around 10 p.m. I usually go to bed at or around 9:30. I take a lot to fall asleep. I was feeling relaxed and I was half asleep and half awake. I realized I was listening to a female voice humming a tune that I could recognize, even though my parents were downstairs, my brothers were sleeping. It scared me a lot at first, but I didn't really mind and just let myself fall asleep. I talked to my mother about what was happening. We had a long talk in private. I often see weird things and weird things often happen to me. But this time I told someone about it. My mom was trying to understand for what reason this would happen to me. She thought it was maybe something in my room, and in the exact moment when she said that, I thought about my necklace. It was a necklace from the years 1920 and 1930. So yeah, I just poured some holy water on it. Just had a few events after that. But they were probably more my imagination running wild. I still have the necklace now, and I wear it every day. I feel like the memories of the girl who had this necklace before me are still inside the necklace, and I don't really mind. Actually, I'm happy that a part of her is still in there. I just really can't explain why. So, yep, one of the creepiest experiences of mine. My mom and I live alone in a very safe neighborhood. There's only been 2 people who have died here and only 1 murder, which happened in 2009. This event happened in September 2022, and I was home alone. It was maybe 7 or 8 at night, so it was moderately dark, but still light enough to see without a flashlight. Keep in mind, I already had suspected that someone had been stalking us before this incident. I was doing my laundry, and our dryer is out in the shed. I just walked down the stairs to the back door when I felt someone or something was watching me, either from behind the chicken coop or in the crawl space. I tried to call my best friend, but she wouldn't answer, so I just told myself there wasn't anything to worry about. I put the clothes in the dryer, was almost halfway back to the house when I heard this evil laugh. Like a psychotic clown and a monkey mixed. I was frozen in fear and realized it was coming from behind my chicken coop. I ran inside on the verge of tears when I called my brother. He didn't pick up, so I called my mom. She told me to call the police, but I was scared if they didn't find anything, I'd get in trouble. I looked out the window. I saw my dog going in circles, and then he ran behind the chicken coop, exactly where I'd heard the noise. My brother got home a few minutes later. He could see the fear in my eyes. He grabbed his gun, searched the entire property in pitch dark. It's now March, and a few days ago I was making a video for fun, and I went out by my window. I saw a path leading from under the porch to my window, as if someone had been standing there. Things have also gone missing in our house before. shoes, clothes, makeup, food. We've also found things around our property like needles, dolls with one leg, and even hair with what looked like a piece of scalp on it. And I've smelled some really weird smells near the woods. The lock on the door to the crawl space has opened and closed, even though nobody goes down there, unless they have to. There's bed sheets covering a hole to see inside, and I'm too scared to look inside, because just days before they were put there, we all smelled something that smelled like death. I know this seems bad, but I hope it's just a rat or something, because the thought of a body under my house is shuddering. We've found multiple abandoned TVs, baby stuff like toys, bottles, cribs, high chairs. We've even found, like I said earlier, needles with a clear, thick substance in it, and the dolls and children's toys with the one leg. Should I tell the police, or is this just paranoia? I was probably 15 or late 14 at the time. Midsummer, me and two of my friends left a girl's house late at night, basically sneaking out of where she lived, kinda deep in the countryside, about a 45-minute walk to get to the city line. We left about 2 in the morning. Me and my two friends, we stepped out of her country subdivision road onto the main paved road. We took a left onto the main road. We took a right. You could basically see just roads and woods each direction with some mailboxes. But on the right side, opposite our direction, at the top or end of our view of the road, we could see just a white light or reflector image. Our mind was on not being caught by the cops or anything past curfew. We walked left, the opposite direction. While walking, cars occasionally drove by, so to be safe, we would hide in the woods or the tree line every time a car would pass, just in case it was a cop. Every time we would watch a car go by our opposite traveling direction, basically we would look back and the white object was getting closer, quite fast. You could only see it in headlights. Once the headlights were gone, it was basically gone too. We continued walking, all seeing it, just confused, but didn't care to wait. We got to about the town line, and this thing was probably only 200 to 500 feet behind us. Again, we could only see it in passing headlights. None of the cars seemed to notice. When the creature was close enough, it was translucent, white skin with big black holes for eyes, limbs long and limp, looking pretty skinny. Skinny, but still could have been anywhere between 6 to 8 feet tall. We get into the start of town with house subdivision streets, basically townhomes. Every way we'd go, we'd look in the opposite direction, and we could see the thing walking with our pace. When I got a side view of it, I noticed its arms hung pretty low, like it was looking at us but wasn't. Me and my friends that night weren't on any drugs. We snuck outside at night quite a bit, so it wasn't just some fear or mistake. We were pretty, I guess, calm or casual because it kept its distance. We were just more concerned about getting caught by the law, I guess. To this day, I still ride my bike around town at night. I have for years, and I haven't seen anything like that night. In doubt, I sometimes question my vision, but both of my friends saw it 3 or more times that night. It was a gray, kind of cloudy night. I don't know. Any help with what I might have seen? So I used to work in this half-shut-down hospital. The original hospital had closed. However, the hospital I worked for had just bought it for a satellite emergency room. Being how no one wanted or knew to come to us the first few months, they were pretty boring. The doctor was an advocate for ghost hunting and would send me down the old places on my night shift. One night I had the radar and I went to the back room. I was just going to go for my cigarette break. I had one out and was about to finish up and walk outside. In the pitch black dark, all I heard was, "Don't smoke." I looked down at my hand, at my unlit cigarette, and booked it. I couldn't believe it. I have since quit smoking, 5 or 6 years now. I live with my grandma. My bedroom is in the basement. She can't walk up and down the stairs anymore, so she never comes down there. Last night, I had the most vivid dream I've had in my life. Everything in my dream was exactly the same as it was in real life at the time. My grandma upstairs, my boyfriend and I asleep in my bed downstairs. The dream went like this. In the middle of the night, every car alarm on our street was going off. Minutes later, things around my bedroom were being thrown around the room, knocked off of shelves, and there was a loud bang all around the house. I ran upstairs and the 2 chandeliers in the living room were swinging around. I went back downstairs and a noose had appeared on my bedroom ceiling. When I woke up, I ran upstairs to tell my grandma about my dream. Before I had the chance to say anything, she said, "I felt like Mike was here with me last night." Mike is my father, who passed away a few years ago. I left for work and my boyfriend still sleeping in my bed. When he woke up, he called me and said that he felt very sick, but as soon as he left the house, he felt better. Literally, as soon as he walked out the front door. When I got home from work, I went downstairs and sat down on my bed. I noticed a necklace that I've never seen before in my life. It was just lying on my bed next to me. I went upstairs to ask my grandma about it. She said that she'd never seen it before either. It was a gold chain with a dainty cross pendant. After talking to my grandma, I headed downstairs. The necklace was laying in the middle of the kitchen floor. I ran back to my grandma's bedroom. When I came back, it had moved from the kitchen to the living room. Maybe it seems like all of this could easily be explained, but it feels too coincidental. And I don't understand where this necklace came from, or how it's moving around with neither of us touching it. Okay, before I tell my story, yes, I realize now, 14 years later, I did some dumb shit when I was 18. The question is how I got it to stop, leave my family alone, as we want to have a normal life. All of this is true. No, I don't think I have mental illness. I go to the VA. I've been tested for all kinds of mental illnesses, which doesn't check out. I was raised semi-Catholic, only been baptized, no other sacraments. There is a preface to this story, and now that I'm older, it makes a lot of sense. I didn't sleep in my own bed until I was around 13, because I used to see things at night which scared the absolute dog shit out of me. Like most parents, they didn't believe anything I ever said. One time, playing hide and seek when I was a kid, around 6 or 7, I was hiding under the covers. I was looking at a shelf, and I saw a bin full of Legos get tugged, like someone pushed down on it. 2 minutes later, the bin gets pulled out of the wall by itself. My dad runs in to see what's happened, to which I have no explanation. I was across the room, by myself. I used to see figures at night in my room. They never approached my bed, but would kind of look at me in the closet. They were real fuzzy around the edges and took on different forms. When I went to Yosemite on a camping trip, I remember being awake, terrified in my bed next to my mom. There were black figures walking around in hiking clothing, but no faces or anything. They made no sound as they walked around our cabin around 5:30 in the morning. I was the only one who was awake who saw it. and I can vaguely remember one standing next to my bed. My mom and I were asleep, and it was standing, looking down at me. The day after I turned 13, I started sleeping in my own bed because my dad had had enough. I had a radio in my room. I turned on NPR at night for white noise so I could try to sleep. I kept the lights on a low dim and the closet door closed so I wouldn't have things looking at me. None of these figures ever made noises. Okay, real story time. I joined the Marine Corps in the infantry in 2009 at 17 years old. By 18, I went to my duty station in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. Those who don't know Hawaiian folklore, Kaneohe Bay used to be the meeting place for native Hawaiian tribes to do battle. The movie Paranormal Activity also came out that year, and we all got drunk, went to the movies to see it. There's this stupid scene where they get a Ouija board. Yes, I know this is where I got stupid. And they leave it on the table, then it moves by itself. Drunk me asks on the drive home if that stuff actually works. We go and find one the next day at Spencer's Gifts in the Windward Mall. We take it back to our squad bay. We stayed in open bays when we first got there. And the person on duty, like RA for a dorm or security, who's Catholic Hispanic, he turns white and he says, "Get that shit out of here right now." We laugh and go to our bay on the top floor. We pull couches around the table and start drinking because we're Marines and dumb, and then we start reading the directions on how to do it. I text my girlfriend, now wife. She also tells me to stop messing with this stuff. She Googles it and tells me to put sterling silver on the board, to which I magically have a St. Michael's medallion that my mother had given me before boot camp. I put it on the board. Again, I don't believe in this stuff. None of the people participating believe this. We put our hands on the pointer, start asking stupid things like, "Is there anyone who wants to talk to us tonight?" This goes on for a while, till all of a sudden the pointer starts moving slowly. I look at the other people and I say, "Stop fucking around. I want to see if this works." Everyone claims that it's not them, and it slowly moves over to yes. So we start asking if it's anyone that we know. It goes to yes again. We ask, who does it know? It says our friend, Nathan, who's sitting on the couch across the bay with a beer in his hand, not touching anything. He's drunk and says, "Very funny, guys." He sits up and says, "Okay, if you know who I am, who are you?" And the pointer spells out, "Grandma." He laughs again and says, "Okay, Grandma, what's your first name?" The board spells out his grandma's name correctly. We look at him and say, "Okay, who did you tell your grandma's name to?" To which he kind of gets quiet and he says, "No one." He started to ask the year that she died, answered correctly. Her husband's name, answered correctly. His mother's name, answered correctly. He gets extremely quiet after this and asks if she has anything she wants to say. And she says, "I love you," and goes to goodbye immediately. He looks freaked out after that, and it's no longer fun. We kept talking to different entities, but it starts to get really weird, where the board starts naming people with birth and death dates from the 1800s, which we Google, and they're all 100% correct. Then I talk to an entity who says it was my mother's unborn child, which was killed by an axe. I text my mom about what I'm doing. She tells me, "You need to stop immediately." She has her own story, where something tried to contact her. At this point, a Wiccan Marine walks in and he says, "What the actual fuck are you guys doing? This is not a fucking toy or a game. You need to give this to me right now. I need to close this fucking board." He jumps on and he starts doing some weird praying or rituals, saying that we're talking to all sorts of things that we shouldn't be. The Hispanic duty man from before walks up to our floor and says, "Hey, can you guys please stop? There's a lot of weird stuff going on downstairs and everyone's freaked out. There's weird orbs of light at the end of the bays and things are getting knocked over by themselves. Please stop." By the end of this, I'm done messing with the thing, but word got around that this was going on, and around 20 more 18 or 19-year-old Marines show up wanting to talk to spirits on the board. One guy even asked to talk to Satan, and the wicked Marine got pissed because he had to sit there the whole rest of the night, essentially babysitting the board. The next day, I felt kind of weird, like there was a pit in my stomach. I went into the bathroom and I kind of started dry heaving till I felt something leave my mouth, but there was no puke or anything. I thought it was too much drinking and ignored it. Went about my business. There was one Marine who started acting weird for a week as he took the board into a closet by himself, tried to contact his grandfather. People in his platoon said that he started acting weird and distant. I don't really know what happened after that. I don't remember what happened to the board, but I never touched it again, not after that night. And when a coworker brought one to work as a joke on Halloween, I immediately turned and left. We were up on a mortar range on the Big Island at a training area called PTA. We would get thick fogs that would roll in, this on top of a remote volcano on being on the Big Island, with nobody except military personnel in training. Everyone would hear children laughing off in the distance in the morning. They'd always ask each other, "Am I the only one hearing the children laughing?" We all agreed that we heard it, but no one ventured out into the fog to see what it was. It usually happened in the mornings. This was my last paranormal encounter in the Marines. Okay, fast forward 13 years. I'm married. I've got a 1.5-year-old who's now walking and talking. We move into our new house with no issues. It's a new house and we bought it from the original owners, who are still alive. No deaths or anything that we knew of. I posted about this instance before, but just about what happened next. One day, my daughter is running around the house, bouncing around normally, like she always does. She points to the armchair sitting against a desk in the downstairs guest room. The door was sitting open, and she says, "Daddy, there's a man in the chair," and runs over to me immediately. I pick her up. She looks back in the room, starts shrieking, and tries as hard as she can to press herself into me, saying again, "There's a man in the chair." The only thing she knows about ghosts are that they say boo. She's super friendly with people that she sees all the time, so I have no idea if there was an actual person in the chair or why she would be so terrified. I have no idea what she saw, but I believe that it wasn't nice. She's inconsolable with crying, shrieking. I can't comfort her. All of my childhood experiences and Marine Corps stuff comes back to me. I tell my wife about it. She actually believes me. We take her to my parents' house and we go into town immediately to buy a feather, incense, other stuff to do a smudging. It was recommended by someone. We proceed to do the smudging throughout the entire house, while I carry around my Catholic Bible commanding all spirits to get out of my house in the name of Saint Michael, Jesus Christ, and the Lord Almighty God. I don't go outside, but we go in every closet, garage, etc. We bring my daughter back with no issues, and life goes on for a while. Every now and then, before we put her to bed, she's now 2. "Daddy, there's a bad man in the house." We always misdirect or read her stories and such, and she goes to sleep with no issue. We have a hot tub in our backyard, and I go to sit in it at night before bed some nights when I'm tired, but one particular night, I had this horrible feeling that someone or something was watching me. Not only that, they were glaring at me as if they were angry. I think I'm empathic. I can feel emotions and feelings. Whatever this was, it was furious and angry with me. I could almost feel it staring me down, like I angered it somehow, personally. When I walk into my house from the backyard, I feel like I'm being watched by something still. It doesn't go into the house, but somehow I can feel it looking at me inside the rear glass slider inside. Sometimes our healer puppy that we brought home runs out the dog door 2 or 3 in the morning and just starts growling and barking for no reason. And we go down to yell at him to go back inside. The final thing that I think is that I believe this entity or entities are tormenting me, disturbing thoughts that don't belong to me. They started about 2 months ago before my daughter was born. And up until the end of 2020, I didn't have these thoughts. I've been tested by the VA for psychosis, schizophrenia, mania, bipolar. Have absolutely none of those or any other medical disorders outside of PTSD. I've got no hallucinations, seeing or hearing things that aren't there at all. I can't describe it, but it feels like something has been putting these thoughts in my head. Even sometimes my dreams. They definitely feel like they don't belong to me, like they're not mine. I think whatever I contacted back in 2009 has been dormant for a long time and is now trying to come after me and my family. I'm going to have to contact a bona fide psychic, see if they can see what's going on, hopefully do some energy management and get this thing or things out of our lives once and for all. I'm honestly open for suggestions, prayers, advice. I want whatever this is to go away. Well, friends, it appears we've reached the end of tonight's episode, but don't miss a brand new one every Friday night and my other weekly uploads every Sunday and Wednesday. If you've been checking out the shorts, thank you. I really appreciate it, and it super helps the channel. I want to thank those who shared their stories, and a big thanks to all of you for listening. Do you have stories like these? I'd love to share them. Send them to me, amandadarkesthour@gmail.com, or on the Darkest Hour subreddit, the Darkest Hour YT. A huge shout out to all of my patrons who I appreciate so very much. TRACY S, TAMARA K, Monica L, ZOEWATT, Shelly B, Donald C, Rat Girl, ALISHA S, ERIN G, NIKKI H, Mr. Revenant, Naz K, Brendan G, Paul T, Nicholas C, LISSANE, ARLENE F, and ADRIENNE. You all are the best. If you want to support the Darkest Hour in other ways, consider joining my Patreon. Check out patreon.com/thedarkesthour or click the link in the description to learn more. Thanks everyone, and stay spooky.